synopsis. Oh my god. Hey guys, so today if I seem uncharacteristically unkept or frazzled, it's because I have been stranded at my apartment for the past week because my car has been on in the shop. I don't think I've touched outside air in like 2 days. So yeah, it's definitely taking its toll on me, but at least I have books to take me away from it. So here's my TBR for the month of February. So the first book I'm going to talk about in my TBR is actually one I've already finished reading, because as of filming this, it's February 8th. And this is a book that has been on my TBR for quite a while, and I was actually very, very excited to read it. And that is An Unkindness of Magicians. And being that this is a TBR, I won't go into all my thoughts and feelings after reading it. Instead, I'll just give you a synopsis and save my commentary for the wrap-up video at the end of the month. So the synopsis for An Unkindness of Magicians. It takes place in the real modern-day world, but there's also the unseen world. And the world is made up of magicians, and not everyone's a magician, and not every magician is as powerful as another. But there's these houses, and every 20 years, the houses come together and compete in something they call the turning, and that will determine who will lead the unseen world. And depending on their ranking, also places them in different levels of power. I was very excited to get to this one, and I cannot wait to talk about it at the end of the month. All right, so the next book I'm actually currently reading, and might I say, it is going rather slowly. I think it might be due to a combination of the subject matter, how it's written, and the phrasing, and the fact that it is an older book, and it is the writing is just different than what we're used to for modern day things. And that book is Lolita. So the reason I am reading this book is because last month I read Dark Vanessa and My Dark Vanessa, and that book referenced Lolita so many times that I felt like I had to read it. So I picked it up and I'm reading through it. I'm only about 50 pages in, and it definitely feels like I'm slogging through it. Like, it just feels so much heavier and harder to get through than these like more fantasy books, because the subject is rather heavy. And if you didn't know, the synopsis of Lolita is that there is this gentleman, Humbert. Well, I might not be able to call him a gentleman based on what he does, but his name's Humbert. He ends up falling in love with this 12-year-old girl named Lolita, or well, she goes by Lolita. And it's about that. And first of all, just on that, it sounds disgusting, but the author, Vladimir Nabokov, specifically states this is not a love story. This isn't some kind of Romeo and Juliet cutesy thing. This is a story about kidnapping and rape and this delusional man. And before going into this, I didn't really know much about this book. Of course, I knew the term Lolita through various like the fashion and everything, and I knew it existed, but I'm very interested to get further into this. I also found out that this is actually based on a true crime event that happened, so I found a book on it, but I can't remember what it was called, and I hope to read that book maybe next month so that I could get even more insight into what happened, and also compare the book Lolita and then the book the true crime story it was based on. Now, because I got Lolita, coincidentally, I found this book researching Lolita. So anytime I would type in Lolita, whether it was into the Barnes & Noble website, the Amazon website, or into Goodreads, this book kept coming up. And so naturally, I took interest. Like, the title alone had me taking interest, but after reading the synopsis, I was hooked. And that book is Reading Lolita in Tehran. And this is a memoir in books by Azar Nafisi. And so the synopsis of this book is that in the Islamic Republic of Iran, they outlawed, and well, they banned many like Western classics and things like that. And then I know, like, I'm not as familiar with the culture over there, but women are definitely not seen on the same level as men. So there is this teacher who is actually the one who wrote this book, Azar Nafisi, who gets together 7 of her most committed students, and they study things like Jane Austen, Vladimir Nabokov, what was another one? F. Scott Fitzgerald, Henry James. And it's just her memoir of going through this and this risk. So I'm very, very interested in it. At first, I thought it was mostly based on Lolita, but being from the synopsis, it's not, but still, it should be very interesting. And one of my goals was to read more fiction this year. And being that this is a memoir, it, qualifies. So I'm excited to read that, and that will help. I've also just been on kind of a memoir kick. Like, I've been reading a bunch of memoirs lately. So I'm very interested to get through that. It's so tough when you have so many books you want to read, because it's like, what order do I want to read them in? Because I want to read them all at once. All right. So the next book I'm going to talk about is actually a manga, and it is Dissolving Classroom by Junji Ito. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I love Junji Ito. I read his Uzumaki, Tomi, and Gaio. Absolutely loved them. And I just come to the point where if it's Junji Ito, I'm going to pick it up and read it. Now, this one I picked up mostly just because it was Junji Ito and I knew it would be horror manga. And the synopsis is that there's these 2 siblings, and wherever they go, a bunch of crazy shit happens around them. And it's a bunch of short stories on that. And it's pretty small, so it should be a quick read, but definitely looking forward to that because I love Junji Ito's storytelling. I love his art style, and I think he has some truly creepy things. All right, so the next portion of books I'm getting to is, being that it is February, it is Black History Month. And in celebration of that, I wanted to pick up quite a few books that were written by Black authors to help support them. The first one I'm actually really, really excited for, and this is a heavy baby. So this one, I don't know if I will get to it in the month of February, and that is because it is an audiobook, and the author of this book narrates the audiobook. And frankly, I don't want this book told to me in any other way besides him narrating it. And that is A Promised Land by Barack Obama. Please ignore the Target sticker. I need to get it off. I am very, very excited about this. I read Michelle's memoir last year. I actually listened to the audiobook with her reading it, and it was phenomenal. I know this one's going to be a different take because, he was the president and he's a man, and he didn't have all as many of these side projects and everything that Michelle was able to have, being that she was the first lady. But I love when he speaks, he articulates so well, he speaks so well. I'm just so looking forward. This could be about presidential affairs that I have no interest in because, frankly, I'm not that big into politics. But I really think he can jazz it up, and whatever he has to say, I want to listen. I'm very, very excited. It's quite the long read, but I've had the audiobook on hold for like a month and a half now, and I really hope it gets to me by February because I really, really want to listen to this, and I'm very, very excited about it. And it's so thick and heavy. All right, so the next book is actually one that, again, I've already read. I actually finished reading this last night, and I will say it did make me cry, and that is Bingo Love. Now, I got the Jackpot edition, and I would very, very highly, very much recommend the Jackpot edition because in it, instead of just being the book, it has at the back of it these side stories almost, I guess you could call it, but it was done by different artists, so it has a different art style to it. And it's just one involves one of the gentlemen you see in the story and kind of gives his backstory and his side of the story. And they're all in these different art styles, and I really like to see that, and I really like to see people coming together and collabing like that. The synopsis for this book. Again, not going to give my thoughts and feelings on it, just because I'm going to save that for the wrap-up, and this is strictly a TBR video. So in this book, it is about this woman, Hazel, and this woman, Marianne, and they meet and they fall in love, and being that they meet in 1960s, not the best time to be gay and fall in love, and fate separates them, but then 50 years later it brings them back together, and it's just going through all of that. It was a very short, quick read, but it was quite enjoyable and definitely made me shed a tear. Very, very sweet, but it did punch me in my little heart, so be warned. All right, so the next book that I'm going to talk about, I want to read because I read her, this is her debut work, but I read her other book, The Vanishing Half, and that is The Mothers by Bennett. I just enjoyed The Vanishing Half so much that I'm sure this one will be amazing. So the synopsis is about this, the synopsis is that this girl, Nadia Turner, ends up having this like fling or something with this pastor's son, Luke, and this was right after her mother passed and everything, and the back like alludes to them making some kind of big decision that like haunts them for the rest of their life. And then there's another character, Aubrey, who is Nadia's best friend, and that's all I really know about it, but knowing Bennett, I'm sure it's going to be great, so I'm looking forward to reading it. And it's not too long of a read, so it should be very, very enjoyable. Oops. My goodness. All right, and so the next book on my TBR is one that, again, I've had on my TBR since I want to say September, whenever Reading Rush was, because whenever they did Reading Rush, this was supposed to be their group book. And I was interested in Ben, but I wasn't able to get to it. And that is Such a Fun Age by Kiley, Reid. So this book, the synopsis for it is that this, I can't remember the names. It was, let's see. So Alex Chamberlain has this babysitter, Amira Tucker. Amira is this black woman, and she is the babysitter for this white woman, Alex. And Amira is off she's doing her grocery shopping, and so she took the baby, and she gets confronted by people who are like, you're not supposed to have that baby, thinking like she kidnapped it or something, when really she's just the damn babysitter. And it's about going through that, and Alex wants to try to make it up to Amira some kind of way, but I mean, that's a pretty like embarrassing situation, as well as like something that can make you feel pretty shitty. And Amira is not handling it well from what I get from the synopsis. So I am excited to read through that and see what happens. All right. And the next book, I'm excited for all the books on my TBR, but you know, some you're just a little more excited than others. And that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And I'm sure a bunch of people have heard about it because I know there's a sequel to it, and I don't know if the third one dropped or not, but I know it's definitely either it's dropped or it's in the work, it's coming soon or something like that. And so this is a romance book following Chloe Brown, and basically she just wants to live her life to the fullest, and she wants to do something bad, and she has her little bucket list and like how she wants to get a life. And then she gets the help of this little fella who goes by the name of Reid, and once she realizes he's just a bad boy exterior, you know they're gonna fall in love. Like you know what's gonna happen. So I'm excited about that one. The next book is The Nickel Boys by Colson, Whitehead. And please, again, ignore the little sticker that I need to go melt off with the hairdryer. And so this book takes place right around the time of Dr. Martin Luther King and all his stuff going on, and all the civil rights era and all the tension. And this, I can't remember what his name is. So this boy, Elwood Curtis, ends up getting sent to this juvenile reform school, and basically this juvenile reform school sucks, and the people there are jerks, and being that he is a black teenager and he also has a friend there who's a black teenager, it's just they are treated awfully. We'll see what happens on their adventures. So another one of the books I wanted to read this month was Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall. This book is about exactly what it says, the fact that the feminist movement very much focused on white women rather than women of other races, and I hope this explores the different impacts that had. I'm very, very excited to read this. I'm actually thinking about reading it after Lolita if I do not reading Lolita in Tehran. It's between those two for the next book I'm going to read, but of all the books this month, Hood Feminism is definitely one of the ones I want to get to and one that I've been very excited for. All right, so those were the books I for sure want to get to this month. However, there were a few I picked up, two of them from Barnes & Noble, one of them because I heard Noelle Gallagher speaking about it and I immediately wanted to get it. I'm hoping I can get to these books this month, but if not, it's okay if they roll over into next month because I'm still going to get to them and I'm still very interested in them. So I'm going to start with the two I got from Barnes & Noble, and one of these I have been looking at for quite a while, and the other one of these I was going through looking at the buy one get one 50% off, and this immediately caught my eye. I was very interested in. So the first one that caught my eye was The Address book, and What Street Addresses Reveal About Identity, Race, Wealth, and Power by Deirdre Mask? I don't think I said her name right. I'm so sorry, ma'am. How where you live has just been like how time has affected that and just things like that. Very interested to read that. It seems like it's definitely going to have some sociology points to it, which I'm very interested in because I am getting my sociology major and that stuff does interest me. So I'm very much looking forward to that. The second book I got from Barnes & Noble, and the lady at the counter, she saw my weakness and she exploited it because I've been, every single time I've gone to Barnes & Noble, I've seen this book and I've picked it up and it was right by the register and I was checking out with my little books and the lady was like, you know, if you like memoirs, you should get this one. And I was like, oh my God, yes ma'am, just throw it on there, just throw it on there. And that is World of Wonders. Okay, frankly, I had not heard of this book. It says it's the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year. Until it started popping up all around Barnes & Noble stores, I had never heard of this book. But it should be an interesting read. It's quite small. That's kind of also why I was hesitant to get it, because it's so small, but it was $25. But I did not realize that it has, and this wasn't until the woman checking me out told me, that it has some very, very beautiful artwork in it. So some very, very, she said it was watercolor. I don't know, some of these don't necessarily look like watercolor, but I mean, hey, I don't know, I didn't do the coloring myself. And so the synopsis of this book is that it is about Aimee, and then I'm so sorry, I do not want to butcher her last name, because I know if I try to sound it out like a little child, I'm going to make mistakes. But it's just about her experiences and how she's been able to travel all over the world and travel to all these different places, and how in each place she has been able to connect with nature in some kind of way. That's why there's all these pictures of these animals and plants. And it's just a memoir about that. I'm very excited to read it, just because if the writing in it is as beautiful as the cover and the artwork, then it's sure to be worth the read. And one of the things that the lady in Barnes & Noble stressed about this one is it's one that you can pick up, read a chapter, and then put down for a while, and it's very easy to do that with. Now, knowing me, I'll probably just read it all the way through, but I'm still very excited to get to it. All right, so this last book is a pretty short one that I'm really, really hoping to get to this month. It is one that I saw on Noelle Gallagher's page. That is 84 Charing Crossroad. And so it's very, very small, but it is a book about it is a book of letters between this woman in New York who's a freelance writer and her writing to this bookstore and her correspondence with them. I think it's over like 20 years. It's through quite a while. Yeah, so through 20 years of correspondence, and it began in the 1970s. I'm very, very interested to read this. She said it made her cry, so I guess we will see if it hits me like that or not. So those are all the books that I hope to read this month. Like I said, it's a pretty ambitious TBR, but I'm stranded at my house with a bunch of books, so I have plenty of time to work through it. And even if I don't finish them all this month, I can always have them roll over into next month, especially the ones that I kind of purchased on a whim from Barnes & Noble. There are a few, of course, I hope I really get to. And then there's A Promised Land, which I don't know if I'll get to this month just because I'm really, really wanting to listen to the audiobook rather than reading the physical book. Yeah, so hopefully I will get to everything, and let me know what y'all are reading this month down in the comments. And yeah, so y'all have a great one. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff. And I have my January what I read up now, so feel free to check it out. Alright, well, thanks guys. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see you next time, alright?